and thanks for being with us. In our first story this afternoon, government is pushing for a little more space to spend under the IMF program this year. This is what Joy Business has picked up from the IMF renegotiation talks, which is set to be finalized today. George Afin, the following report looks at other issues that came up which are likely to influence the budget presentation.
Joy Business understands government wants this waiver, not necessarily because it wants to spend to meet campaign promises, but rather to help finance the rising budget deficit. But it appears this request might not come easy, as the IMF wants some steep spending cuts this year, in line with reducing the budget deficit set under the program. Sources say the IMF seems to have confirmed report of some 7 billion Ghana cedis spent by the previous government, but cannot be accounted for. But is however said to carry out further audits to establish the actual amount spent by the previous administration. Joy Business understands government during the meeting pledged its commitment to stick to the program, which is expected to end next year, but maintains that targets should be reviewed. Government has also promised to go ahead and remove what it describes as nuisance taxes, which will be incorporated in the 2017 budget. It is also working to fast-track the implementation of the national ID system, which will aid its plan of ensuring that everyone pays taxes in the country as it pushes ahead to remove some taxes. Government also wants to go ahead with this policy of having all state funds in a single treasury account at the Bank of Ghana. All these proposals could get the IMF's blessings today as the two parties close renegotiation talks. However, for some analysts, there are still unanswered questions. How come the previous administration recorded such high budget deficit and rising public debt under an IMF program? Meanwhile, Joy Business is learning the budget presentation could be brought forward to Thursday, March 2. Instead, the 3rd of March this year, when the Minister of Finance disclosed to Joy Business.
In other business news this afternoon, government has initiated steps to reopen negotiations with AngloGold Ashanti over the redevelopment of the Obuasi mine. President Akufo-Addo has given his government's assurance to help improve the company's fortunes, which have been dwindling in recent years, partly due to illegal mining activities at this Obuasi mine. The Minerals Commission successfully relocated and registered over 900 illegal miners who invaded the mine. The chief executive, Dr. Tony Orbin, tells Joy Business all is now set for talks over the redevelopment of the mine after closure of over a dozen pits dug by the miners.
The Galamsey thing is no longer there. The illegal miners who went there, we've moved them out. We are hoping that we could work with them to ensure that the development of the mine continues. I think the focus now must be on how to get this mine back on account. You know, there were challenges as a result of the invasion of the illegal miners. Thankfully, we've been able to move them without any problem. These guys, these Ghanaians are working now. We found them places. They are now being legitimized to do their work. So the issue now is for AngloGold Ashanti to focus on the development of the mine, which is the interest of all of us. Government want that to happen, and AngloGold Ashanti, I believe they also want that to happen.
Have any benefits already been realized at the Obuasi mine since you moved them, that's the illegal miners, away?
Oh, that has actually allowed the AngloGold Ashanti to close all the holes that were created, you know, the entry point that were created. They've now, I believe they've sealed all of them. And I believe that that paves the way for further development of the mine, further work to be done, because already AngloGold Ashanti had agreed with government to review its development plan for the mine. And we were monitoring that. I mean, they were doing so with the Minerals Commission. The invasion actually interrupted that activity. Now, we can go back to the drawing board and then continue with the development of the mine.
Well, we are moving on now, and the Minister-designate for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Elizabeth Afolikwe, says fishermen will also be empowered in contributing to decisions taken over the distribution of premixed fuel. We want to take a look at that video. Join yesterday's vetting session.
The premixed fuel is the procurement and distribution of premixed fuel is fraught with a lot of problems. Chief amongst these problems are the diversion of the premixed fuel. There's also the adulteration of the product. What I intend to do is to ensure that our laws are enforced. Our laws in the procurement and distribution of this premixed fuel are enforced. We intend to do a lot of stakeholder consultations. We intend to devolve a lot of the powers of the Fisheries Commission into the hands of the fisherfolk. If the fisherfolk become watchdogs of their own, then of course, this premixed fuel will not be diverted, it will not be adulterated. We'll also ensure that our monitoring, control, and surveillance and enforcement unit is strengthened to do the surveillance and the enforcement of our laws. So we would employ a lot of people. We will employ people who would go around our regional, the regions. We will allocate, regions to certain coordinators, people who are going to ensure that when the premixed fuel is procured and is been designated for a particular landing beach, that premixed fuel, gets to its destination, and then we get the feedback from the coordinator or the representative there that we have put there. We ensure that the premixed fuel gets to its destination, and then we get a feedback that it has actually got to where we intended for it to.
All right, let's get more on this. I'm joined in studio by Thomas Insaidu. He's Deputy Projects Director at the Fisheries Commission. So you had the Minister-designate there talk about empowering fisherfolk to also distribute premixed fuel. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Fishing is a very active. It's an active business. People have to bunker canoes, vessels to very high amounts as far as the cost is concerned, and then I go to sea. So unlike farming where you can stagger your operations, fishing is not like that. Now over the years, the government of Ghana has been very particular about the fuel that fishermen take to go to sea, and it has put in place various structures to deal with this issue. But then now, for example, there are what we call the LBCs. They are in place. There's the National Premix Committee. But I believe, yes, the minister wants to, refine, the system so that as much as possible, these issues of diversion.
But how effective would that be, really?
It will be effective. Yeah, of course. Any system is not watertight. Sometimes you have complaints of diversions here and there. So, and also once the people get much more powers as far as the monitoring of the product is concerned, once it is for them, if they have a lot of leeway in managing the resource, that input, then I think it will be well for all of us.
And this devolution of powers is also to empower the fisher folk, also arrest fishermen that deal in illegal fishing. Your thoughts about that one too?
That one, I think there's a slight, clarification for that. Fishermen, as far as I'm concerned, I know fishermen do not have any business, going to arrest people who do illegal business
Maybe
in premises. The normal criminals tip off. Yes,
yeah.
Very good. But I know that in the management of the resource, we are putting in place what we have community watch on water. You know, other countries, they call it the guardians of the sea. You know, we are putting in place this structure to help the fisheries enforcement unit, you know, do its work well. And they are not going to arrest anyway, but they are going to provide intelligence information to the Navy, the military, you know, for them to do their work.
Interesting you mentioned the Navy, because one of the things she said about you know, dealing with illegal fishing was to resource the Navy to be able to patrol. Again, how effective would that suggestion be to deal with the issues of light fishing and all of that?
No, it is something that we've been doing since time immemorial. You know, the British, those days were very particular about, you know, boats going to sea with the right net, and then they were stopping the vessels, you know, but we stopped for some time. But then under the capacity building project in 1995, we intensified the system. And the Navy has always been a partner as far as, you know, monitoring and enforcing the fisheries law is concerned. So, well, all these systems are there. The only thing we have to do is to, you know, strengthen them, you know, so that they'll be more effective. Now, the Marine Police has also come on board. They are going to do the coastal fisheries enforcement, and they are, you know, I think it will help in reducing the illegalities.
Okay,
you know,
so the Minister-designate also spoke about extending the fishing ban. I don't know whether we can play that video for our viewers right now, but I want to hear your thoughts about that. And she also wants to include artisanal fishermen in all of that. Should we extend the fishing ban?
Yeah. Yes, well, I don't know whether it is fishing ban as such, but what we say is close season, you know. We are closing the season temporarily so that the fishes that, you know, fish have to spawn. They are living organisms. And then when they spawn, they've also got to get the free will, you know, to live for some time until the stage of recruitment into the system. So we have been doing closure for tuna. You know, tuna, for example, close in January. In the country, we know we close even for hunting. We close, you know, the hunting season, maybe for all the games except the grass cutter. So it is a concept that is there. We are doing this for the trawlers. You know, trawling is a very destructive type of fishery because you draw the net over the bottom of the sea, and it, you know, takes all sorts of things. So we want to start with them. As far as the canoes or artisanals are concerned, we're not going to close for them because when we met them, they brought a scheme that we were supposed to use. So we were not going to close for them. But the fisheries management plan is a living document. So it can be studied and reviewed, you know. And so if the minister says that she's going to do that, I think it is acceptable.
All right, thanks very much indeed. That was Deputy Projects Director of the Fisheries Commission, Thomas Nsaidu. Thanks for the insight and your perspective. You're still watching The Marketplace. We're moving on. The Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, Kite Ishmael Ejekumhene, is backing a call for a review of the Ameri deal signed in January 2015. Kukwaban has more on Business Agenda.
The price was too high. A plan that cost $220 million, we're willing to pay $510 million over a 5-year period. Metka, which is the main contractor that is delivering the plant on behalf of Ameri, is charging $370 million to deliver the project and maintain it over a 5-year period. So why couldn't we do due diligence to even go directly to people who can deliver and make that savings between 370 and 510? Even the president at the time said that he was going to get KPMG to evaluate the contract, which never happened. So it was a tacit agreement with the public at the time that there was something wrong with the Ameri contract, and that had to be looked at. And we think that we still have the opportunity to look at it because it is also impacting on the tariff we are charging. If you have expensive power plants, you have to recover the cost through the tariff, and that is why we're seeing consistent adjustment in tariffs. So we want government to look at those ones and renegotiate them so that we can make savings on capacity charges and pass it on to consumers. And that is the only way we can see industry grow.
So you heard Ben Boache, he's the Deputy Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. So what have other industry players got to say about this call? Now, the Executive Director of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment, Ishmael Ejekumhene, has backed the call. For him, the deal even grants Ameri the right to compete for fuel, which is from the Western Enclave, usually supplied to VRA for use. And this, he says, is not good enough.
Most of these issues were flagged, and think tanks and the then opposition raised red flags about so many of the deals. Ameri, for example, if you consider the fact that the cost of owning those plants at the then rate was cheaper than the agreement we had entered into. There were all sorts of issues that were raised. The VRA senior staff, they are right up in arms against the board and the management because of what they perceive to be some unfair advantage that they were trying to give to the Ameri people. There were a lot of issues. I, for example, never understood why we should contract an emergency power plant for 10 years. Okay, car power should have remained an emergency power plant. We needed the car power because it was the quickest that we could get under the circumstances. But why do you contract an emergency power plant for 10 years? I also didn't understand why we would bring in Ameri, we didn't bring its fuel, and it was going to compete with gas from the Atwabu.
There were so many issues.
So many issues. But what I believe is that now they are in government, so it's no longer rumors. Investigate those deals. If those agreements could be reviewed, obviously, a bad agreement that saddles us with bad deals for 15, 20 years, we better off renegotiate.
To the Ashanti region now, where as custom demands, the Asantehene Osei II has installed his elder sister, 83-year-old Nanama Kunedu, as the new Asantehene, succeeding the late Queen Mada Nanefia Kobi Sewampem II. Now, both the installation and the funeral ceremony saw the display of rich Asante culture. One such prominent feature was the traditional hairstyle for especially women called dancing crown, coined from English words dancing crown. Interesting. Well, as described by the Europeans in the colonial days, the royal haircut is said to have created a huge business opportunity for persons referred to as traditional barbers. Love Businesses Prince Apia explores how exactly in today's special Friday feature.
So from the numerous culture in the Asante Kingdom, this haircut plays a significant role in it. Call it dancing crown or dancing crown. This is the royal haircut. At funerals and other cultural gatherings, Queen mothers especially sport this traditional hairdo to give them a unique look. Dancing crown was originally dancing crown, which history explains was given by the Europeans. But gradually, it has become the toast of many women who uphold culture and tradition in the Asante Kingdom.
When we come here, we pay 20 cedis, but we pay more when she comes over to our homes. When you invite her to your house, especially during big funerals or derbes, you pay almost 800 Ghana cedis.
But you 200. So what was our friend there? And 8 million and 9 million. And what year?
Pursue a wolf that. Then, when ye dear, and come my sister me home, and come near Yami. We go inside. Be out the bay of
Since the beginning of the year, this is the 4th time I have had dancing crown done for me. Each time I pay 40 cedis for the haircut and work on my eyebrow. It makes us unique from ordinary people.
In the heart of Asafo, a suburb of Kumasi, is this house which many testify is the hub of dancing crime. Hundreds of people line up here during funerals and other traditional occasions to have what they believe is the best of dancing crime treats. 45-year-old Agatha Mensah took over this business from her mother 20 years ago.
I stayed with my auntie who started this work because there was a big funeral which demanded extra hands. That was when I learned how to do it and supported her until she left. Then I took it up as a full-time job. The basic cost is 20 cedis per person, but it varies. People sometimes pay between 100 and 500 cedis.
It is now a family business, as a daughter, Echan, makes a career out of it. As part of the core procedure, she also works on women who have little or no hair but are keen on having dancing crime cards.
We buy the weave on and cut it to shape. We then fix it as though it is the individual's natural hair. We do this type of dancing crime for those who have little or no hair. We buy the weave on for 40 cedis and charge 30 cedis for our services, making 70 cedis.
Atonso Hima, Nana Ajimai is one of such people who are giving dancing crime a modern touch with the weave on.
I was recently sick, so I lost my hair. There is a funeral and I am a queen. I am happy I can still wear dancing crown for gatherings.
Dancing crime was very prominent during the late Asante Hime's 1 week and burial rite. The story was no different during the 80th day rite, at which a successor was named. Agatha and her daughter worked on nearly 500 patrons. She explains she makes enough money to cater for her home.
For the work, once you do it well, patronage increases. Business is very good when a prominent person dies. On such occasions, my children and I can attend to about 50 clients a day.
Just wondering how that hairstyle would look on me. Anyways, that'll be it for the Marketplace with me, Derek Kwao. You can stay interactive on Facebook, Joy Business, or on our website. Get updated on our news stories, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching.